What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to REBEarth, the podcast created for athletes to help inspire and develop the mental warrior. See, this life is a journey, not a destination. It takes blood, sweat, and tears in this preparation. The battlefield is a gift and a curse. REBEarth, reap every benefit on earth. Man, what is up? Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of the REBEarth podcast. Words really don't describe how excited I am to be able to share this with everybody. I was talking to my athletes the other day and I asked them a question. I asked them, all right, out of all the things you train, you spend time training your speed, your agility, your strength, your power, but how often do you take time out of your day to actually train your mind and to train your spirit? The other attributes that your body has that actually makes you a complete warrior. And so I challenged them to do that on their own time. Take time doing mental exercises. Take time developing a spiritual warrior inside. And from that came the idea of the REBEarth podcast. And it's just going to serve as another tool, another vehicle to use to develop that mental sharpness and that spiritual sharpness. I know for me, my athletic career really was only as strong as my mental and spiritual foundations. And I believe that that's an area that's neglected a lot, not just in athletics, but in everyday life. I don't feel like we spend enough time developing the mental man within. So without further ado, let's get this thing rolling. So today, we're going to talk about identity. And I'm going to give you two stories, one personal and one is going to be from one of my favorite movies of all time. In my teenage and the first few years of my 20s, I was completely consumed with football. I mean, I was obsessed. It had gotten to the point to where I would actually walk around school on my tiptoes because I thought that would be the difference between somebody clipping my heel and making a tackle or me just skating by and scoring a touchdown. I was obsessed with getting better and doing whatever little thing I would need to do to separate myself from the pack. I told one of my athletes a story that there was a point where I'd watched every single running back highlight on YouTube. And that's a bunch. That was the only videos I would watch. And I would play them in slow motion. I would watch how these running backs that I admired, I'd watch how they'd be patient. I'd watch how they would set up blocks and how they would make people miss. And it was really me trying to understand my craft more by watching some experts do it. I developed a really, really good work ethic during this time. I was the one that was never late. I never missed a rep. I did all of the little things that everybody talks about. I was the guy that did that because I didn't want anything hindering me from my goal of being the absolute best football player I could possibly be. So at the highlight of my high school career, this is my senior year, I ended up being the number one running back in the state of Alabama. I received numerous accolades and got to play in the All-Star game, and I was also given an opportunity to play at the next level. So at that time, it's safe to say that my identity was football. Now I'm going to tell you a story about my favorite movie, Gladiator. And the main character, Maximus, is the general of the Roman army. You got to think about this. At that time, Rome was the most dominant force in the world. So he's the guy leading the most dominant force in the world. Early on in the movie, he's betrayed and sold as a slave, and now he's forced to be a gladiator. A professional warrior turned into a circus act. From respect to rubbish. But because of his background, he finds a lot of success as a gladiator, even though he's having to fight for his life. Over time, the other gladiators rally behind him. They're like, you know what? This is a guy that we can get behind. We can follow. We can win with him. And their unit became impenetrable. One of the scenes in the movie, Maximus is having a conversation with another character, and he says, I'm just a slave. What difference do I make? He didn't realize at that time that he was still the general. He was just leading a different group of troops. That really brings me to the point that I really wanted to talk about today, and that is remembering who you are. So to continue the story, that group of gladiators actually make it all the way to the Colosseum, and that's the biggest stage for them. That's the big battles. That's where everybody in Rome is coming to watch you fight for your life. It's there that Maximus sees the man that betrayed him face to face, and it's in that moment that he reveals his true identity as the general for the first time in the movie since the very beginning. That scene was extremely powerful for me because for the first time, he actually stood boldly in his identity. Even though he was still in the position of a slave, he identified with the general within. I absolutely love this movie. And to tie it back into what I was saying earlier about my story, while I was in college, I had football taken away from me. I was lost. I didn't know if the people around me would still like being around me if I wasn't playing football, because that's where I put all of my value. That's where I put all of my treasure in me being a football player, not realizing there were so many other aspects of my life that were great. I wasn't great because I played football. I was great because I did the little things. I did things the right way. I was a great student. I was a great brother. I was a great athlete. I didn't really realize I was a good athlete until I stepped away from football. And that gave me more time to devote to my track career in college. And that's when I started training for the decathlon. When you're training for 10 different events, it stretches you and pulls your body and mind in ways that you never could before. As a football player, you just need to be fast and explosive. But as a decathlete, you have to be fast, you have to be explosive, you have to be coordinated and controlled, you have to have endurance and flexibility. Like, it's endless. Decathletes are the most well-rounded athletes, and that's what I was developing myself into. And I fell in love with the process of getting better. In our lifetime, we're going to face a lot of adversity. We're going to be in situations that make us look unrecognizable. Our lives are going to be threatened. One key thing to remember: where you are is not that important, as long as you can remember who you are. The key is remembering who lives inside of you, not what it looks like around you. In all cases of my life, I walk like a general. I hope this inspires you to walk boldly regardless of your circumstances. Remember who you are, because your circumstances don't dictate your identity. Be blessed. If you enjoyed this message, please share it with everyone you know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. See, this life is a journey, not a destination. It takes blood, sweat, and tears in this preparation. The battlefield is a gift and a curse. Rebirth, reap every benefit on earth. See, this life is a journey, not a destination. It takes blood, sweat, and tears in this preparation. The battlefield is a gift and a curse.